There it is, 2000. A milestone moment for a Pittsburgh icon.
Malkin dusts it off. Right in front. Another chance. Backhand score! It's Brian Rust with the goal. Rarefied air to Hall of Fame career. 1,200 points for Evgeny Malkin.
2nd and 9. Pickett lines up a deep ball. Separation. Touchdown. George Pickens.
Of Pittsburgh Sportsline in the BPTV studio, 5100 West Library Avenue. Thanks for watching us on Comcast 21, only in Bethel Park. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park and all the way from Nemacolin, Cranberry, Wexford, and the greater Pittsburgh area. We appreciate all of you. Facebook, thanks to all our Facebook fans. I'll look at my phone. I don't have it yet, but thank you very much. Nick, thank you. Somebody named Brandy Mariano is watching. We appreciate you. On Facebook, I checked the other day, Nick, we were up to 7,236. I checked today, 7,197.
Yeah.
So we're up there higher than we've ever been. And we understand with us doing our shows that some people are on and whatever, but don't forget Pittsburgh Sportsline channel on YouTube.
Well, we are at 244 now for subscribers.
I checked. So thank you to all the Golden Gloves people that have been watching our great shows. We'll talk about that later, but Smokin' Jim and I with Michael, we did the longest Golden Glove Finals boxing show that we ever did in our history.
Yes, sir.
Only 23 fights for the finals.
Wow.
Let me move on. So, yeah, please subscribe. We got 244. We're moving on up. Look at what we've done in the last month.
Greatness.
Yes. And we're looking to get up to just one person like it. Switzer and like.
We're even more great than Smokin' wearing red with Pirates gear.
We're not even going to talk about it. This is a Pittsburgh Sportsline first.
You got to be a special brand to pull that off.
Here's what's a first. They always ask, what's up with Smokin' Jim? He finally is wearing a shirt or whatever outfit he has, and it's in nice black and red colors. That was Shenley's colors back in the day.
KLU.
Well, we know that, but look at it's called the Hustler.
Hey, live long and prosper. It's the Vulcan piece.
He doesn't know
that is it.
He don't.
Yeah, boom, right
Trapper
over it.
Tom used to tell him that. Trapper
Live
Tom
long
would
and
be like that,
prosper,
and Smokin' and Jim go, Vulcans.
Yeah.
Ralph Williams, hello guys. Shout out
That's
to Ralph
my man.
Williams. Yeah. Didn't you guys do something earlier? All right.
Rumor has it.
Thanks for liking and thanks for interacting. We'll try to interact with you. We appreciate you. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Smokin' Jim Frazier all decked out. And you wouldn't know it's a summer day because he doesn't feel hot or cold. Did I say that out loud? I was thinking it. There we got Chip Hayner back. You can tell who he supports. We got Nick Callis here back with us. He got the email from me. Even though he's colorblind, I told him we're wearing Bethel Park orange shirts.
That's what's up.
So thank you. And we got our great promos coming up in 10 seconds.
Alan Levine, the Talking Machine, presents Coliseum Combat Zone pro and amateur fights at the All-American Fieldhouse in Monroeville on Saturday, June 29th. Contact Al Levine if you'd like to participate in these fights or if you'd like to receive spectator tickets. A donation to the National Kidney Foundation will be made at all Coliseum Combat Zone events.
Pittsburgh Sportsline supports the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Strikers. I worked there for 36 years. My former union, CWA PPMWS 14842, Pittsburgh Local Mailers Union number 22, is on strike. Even though health care benefits were secured for workers by the union, Post-Gazette management cut them out without the union's approval and still expected workers to show up without any coverage. Please cancel your Post-Gazette subscriptions online or in print. Pittsburgh Sportsline supports the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Union Strikers. Frank Fanera, owner of Olive Oil's Pizzeria and the Hillcrest Shopping Center on Route 88. Call them at 412-831-1900. Every Tuesday night, Olive Oil's Pizzeria provides the host and the amazing volunteer crew with an XL pepperoni pizza and a full steak hoagie. They are delicious. Olive Oils is proud to support Pittsburgh Sportsline and the volunteers at BPTV. Stay Joey strong. Joey Fabus died at 8 years old of brain cancer known as DIPG. Since then, the family has come together with community members to create the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit. Since being founded, they've raised over $100,000. Go to jfccf.org to learn more about DIPG, to help spread awareness, and to see how else you can support and donate towards the fight against this dreaded brain cancer. Always Be Smiling, a 501c3 designed to help children and families in need of kidney transplants. The B stands for Bennett, whose memory is embedded in this organization by his parents, Kristen and Dean. Despite the challenges he faced in his 16 and a half years of life, Bennett always had a smile on his face and spread kindness to everyone he could. Now, Always Be Smiling wants to pass on that kindness. Go to alwaysbesmiling.org to learn more and see how you can support or donate to this organization. The Bethel Park Community Foundation has money for you. I'm Al Levine, trustee on the board of this great organization. The BPCF focuses on raising money to provide scholarships, grants, endowments, and more. Grant requests are available online from $100 to $5,000. You can also attend fundraisers or donate. Go to bpcf.org to get more information and to stay up to date on upcoming events. The Bethel Park Community Foundation, focusing community resources, building for the future. The Bethel Park Historical Society is a 501c3 that serves Bethel Park. The Historical Society operates out of the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, located at 2600 South Park Road. Look for the red and white trolley right out front. Reginald's Coffee is inside, and I've heard it's the best coffee around. To visit this great historical venue, email historicalsocietybp@gmail.com. Appreciate supporting them. A lot of good success. That Biscuits and Bingo, they sold out over 500 people, so appreciate that. Designer Bag Bingo, they called me in, do 50-50. I was a few minutes late. I had to go to a birthday party for an ex-brother-in-law that always calls me Uncle Al, and I call him Uncle Bob, so I was at that. I had to be at the community center at 1:30. Well, I was a little late because they wouldn't let me go. All the nieces and nephews, I had to talk to them, so you know I'm a talker. Wow. So they started the 50-50 without me, and there's two guys helping out. Thank you very much. And they said, Al, how do you do it? I go, I just go up to everybody. I go, what about ripping the tickets? I go, they wait, and I keep selling. We only sold $2,010 worth of 50-50 tickets, great. A new high. So I'm glad I could help out to the library. I'm actually a trustee on there, so it helps our financial statement, and I'm the secretary treasurer. I don't get any of the money, but get to support it, so it was great. And we got a couple people. Pete Kasick's watching us, one of our friends. Glenn Hosterman's watching. Thank you, guys. And we got Fiction and Fact.
Nope.
No, sorry. We got What's on Your Mind. I got distracted with my promo. What's on Your Mind? Smoking Jim Hustler Frazier.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want to grieve, you got to see Levine. Is the Penguins eliminated yet, or are they still mathematically in it.
Mathematically, there's a possibility, but they could be eliminated tonight without even playing.
And you
Chip,
guys,
Chip will discuss it later, but the first disclaimer of the night, he's a very nice guy, but he's not a positive guy.
I bleed black and gold.
That's why he's wearing black and red, and look at his hat. So whenever he brings up a sport, he plays like he's a lawyer, Chance. He knows the answer to the question. So when he asks, are they in? They're not in yet. They were in every other day, and you missed that.
Well, you can see I'm representing, me and Chip's representing our Pirates, and the only team I like better than the Pirates is my amazing Mets. Ever since Tom Seaver played for it.
That's the only name you know.
That's been my favorite team, brother.
You know what year that was?
Back in the 60s.
Where do you find? Where do you
69, I think.
69.
Where do you find a red hat? Where'd you find that?
Oh,
On the
man.
street.
Monroe,
On the
in
street.
God's country, you find everything.
Out of the trunk
brother.
of somebody's car.
But hey, Al Levine, the talking machine, I never like to talk about things that I haven't done
Okay, we'll move
in
on
a while.
then.
But
We'll
Al
move
Levine, the
on.
talking machine, every year, always, up until 2017, I could always do 32 reps at 225. And I would look at the combines to see where I would have ranked. And this year I'd have ranked third. One guy did 39 reps, white guy out of Arkansas. Another
Why
guy
do you
did,
always bring up race?
Another guy did 33 reps.
What color was he?
And then the next one was 31. So my 32 would have placed me not only third, but first around amongst African Americans. And for chance,
Why do you think I was
beat all
asking?
the brothers. But
Disclaimer, the comments he makes are only his own. We don't participate in that. The studio does it and Bethel Park does. He's at fault. He's a black man who's not a racist.
But real quick, I
Are
got
you
to.
sure those weren't those styrofoam plates?
Yeah, right. But
They
elevate
were
the
air.
talking
They were
machine.
air in there.
Lastly, and this is for Chance.
What?
Everybody knows.
He's on camera.
I just want to real quickly talk about the curses that's on the
Okay,
Pittsburgh
that's enough about
organization.
true curses. We're going to move on.
Just real quick, elevate the talking
I've been waiting
machine.
all year for that chance.
But in 2010, Santonio Holmes got backstabbed by the Steelers. I said they'll never win another Super Bowl. I lifted that curse this year because of Russell Wilson. They'll win the Super Bowl this year.
You heard it first.
When the Penguins backstabbed Marc-Andre Fleury, I said they'll never win another Stanley Cup. They haven't. And we know 1992 when the Pirates backstabbed Sid Bream, promised to bring him back and didn't. The Sid Bream curse was put on. Pirates haven't done anything since. And then Bobby Lane put a curse on Detroit Lions in 1958 after they won 3 world championships. 65 years later, they haven't. And congratulations to McCutchen for his 500th home run.
300.
And we're celebrating that. I'd have let the guy keep the ball at 300.
It was a young kid.
Is he one of the most overrated guys in all of sports?
No.
270 lifetime batting average. 40 years
How does
old,
he
barely
know
got
these
2,000 hits. Come on, man.
How many hits?
on.
How many hits did you get? I went 8 for 8 in my last game.
we
right?
start at 3,000.
Okay.
We start celebrating at 3,000.
Congratulations to Andrew McCutchen on hitting his 300th home run. Cutchy has 1,000 runs, 2,000 hits, 1,000 RBIs, 300 home runs, 200 stolen bases. Only 18 players in the history of Major League Baseball have accomplished that feat.
I don't believe that.
Thank you.
But he's not a Hall of Famer. They're all in the
Is
Hall
it because
of
it's
Fame.
not in your silly book you got?
No, he doesn't even have a book.
He's 40 years
It's an
old,
almanac.
barely got 2,000
Yeah,
hits. And who celebrates the 300 home runs nowadays?
We do.
I'd have let the little black kid keep that
Well,
ball.
he deserves all
Another
the accolades he
disclaimer.
gets, and he
Another
will be a Hall of
disclaimer on
Famer.
smoking.
Eight-
We got-
McCutch?
18 players in the history
Dave
of
Parker
the game.
ain't even in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
You
well,
talking about Kutch?
because he snorted the right field line.
All right, we're ending Smoking Jim's What's on Your mind.
I figured out what's happening here.
Jeff Hayner, I know what's on your mind, so lay it on us.
Okay, so what's on my mind? Well, in the first place, congratulations to Andrew McCutchen.
I knew it.
Amazing athlete, amazing accomplishments for his career, and Hopefully, he's going to take the Pirates into the playoffs again at the end of the season. But what's on my mind, okay?
Yeah.
And I have been doing a lot of reading over the last few days, a lot of articles out there from all over the country about the epidemic of arm injuries of pitchers in the major leagues. And some of the interesting things that I read, which I thought were total nonsense, is how somebody from the Players Union thinks it's the pitch clock that's causing all these injuries.
They were happening before.
Which is about the most ridiculous thing I could think of, because the Players Union's trying to do something for the players. Well, they've already done all they can do for the players. They gave them guaranteed contracts, okay, so they can get their arms hurt, and they're still getting paid $30 million. For example, Steven Strasburg. Steven Strasburg was a phenom in 2010. Had an up and down career, plagued by arm injuries, and now he's retired from baseball, and the Washington Nationals have to pay him $105 million over the next 3 years.
Nice.
Now, you know what?
I want to know who his agent was.
No, it's the union. The union's the one who negotiated
pro-union.
the guaranteed contracts. But some of the interesting things that I read about this rash of arm injuries came from orthopedic surgeons that do nothing but
Surgery.
UCL resurgeries, and have studied this, and they say where the problem starts is the problem starts in Little League, okay? Because what they have done now, and the way baseball has progressed because of analytics, is that we are forcing young kids and pitchers all the way up until they get to throw at maximum velocity and maximum spin rates. And what's happening is these young pitchers, their arms haven't developed to the point where they will. An interesting article I read about, and I forget the surgeon's name, so, hold me on that. He said the UCL nerve does not fully mature in somebody's arm until they get to be about 25.
Wow.
So now you've seen
Just like men's brains aren't complete till they're 29.
I thought it wasn't they weren't complete until they married.
No. They're told what to believe, but that helps. Shout out to all of you. But 29 for your brain is developed.
I have a tendency to believe that has something to do, because there are a lot of guys that make it into AAA, make it into the major leagues, and then they flash out. Now everybody's throwing 95, 97, 98, and they're making a big deal of somebody he threw 24 pitches over 100 miles an hour in that outing. And I don't know that people's arms were meant to physically to be able to do that. And that leads me to a debate that Nicholas and I have had over time.
Ding, ding.
where Nicholas believes that the pitchers of this era are better than the pitchers of previous eras. And I have a tendency to differ with him. And I acknowledge his point of view, and I respect it. I don't always necessarily agree with it. But, I look at a picture like Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan, when he came up in 1969, 68, 69, the batters used to just bail out of the batter's box because they never knew where the pitch was going to come. And he could throw 103, 104, 105 mile an hour. But it wasn't until he learned how to control his pitch, and he learned how to pitch by locating the ball, adjusting the speed of it. The least important of all the things in pitching, and my belief, is velocity. Velocity is good to have, but if you can't locate, if you can't move your pitches up and down, if you can't change speeds, then you're never going to get batters out. And, I hear this talk about let's rush Paul Skeens up to the major leagues because, well, maybe he's pitched almost 9 innings now in professional ball. But I think he needs the chance to develop, and I don't think the Pirates need to rush him up into the starting rotation right now. We've got other arms I think that should get up here before him. I'd like to see Anthony Solimento. I'd like to see Bubba Chandler. Quinn Priester has been doing,
they've been saying,
this spring. So, I believe that that the stressing velocity and spin rate is what the crux of the problem is, but it didn't start at the major league level. It starts at a much younger age.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion on these arm issues.
We're old school, so I'm going to bring up what we were told growing up in the 60s. First of all, we weren't allowed to play baseball unless it was above 50 degrees. Then the second thing was, if you're a pitcher, don't throw all that junk. Kids always want to throw a curveball, knuckleball, slider, whatever. Until I was in Pony League, I really didn't throw a curve. But I did one thing that Chip probably did. My dad got a skid, the wooden skids, there's 4 corners. After he couldn't catch me a while because I had high heat, I had a hit wherever he told me to do it for an hour. I pitched for an hour. I don't know how many pitches I threw. I did it 4 to 5 times every week.
Wow.
And I was pretty strong and in good shape. I never heard of spin rate. Never heard of spin rate. I know my catcher, Greg Kirby, if he's watching, he had a bloody hand. They put a rag and everything else in there, and he caught it because I had high speed. But I never heard about velocity, spin rate, or anything. I just threw, and I had a healthy arm all the way through playing football where we had to lift weights. They would tell us during the season, don't swim. It'll mess up your arm. Don't lift weights. This is what we grew up with.
Yes, sure.
And we watched pitchers like Bob Gibson and other guys that were throwing high heat and pitching a lot of innings. Look at the complete games you had back then. That's what we grew up with.
Back then, they had 4-man rotations, so a pitcher, instead of a maximum number of starts a pitcher's getting nowadays, is about 32 in a 5-man rotation.
Yeah.
With a 4-man rotation, they were probably getting anywhere from 38 to 42 starts a season. And there could be something to what you're saying, and we're never really going to know the answer. All we're going to get is people's opinions, and people are going to believe what they want to believe. But you're developing so much muscle mass and strength that the joints, where the tendons are, that's the point that's going to
You
give.
put stress on them.
Because the muscles are stronger than they were intended to be.
And Chip, here's the other thing we grew up with, that you needed strong legs to be a pitcher to follow through. Like my one shoe, I would rip off the toe on it. I had to get a toe guard. I never see them in baseball anymore.
Look at that.
Where's the toe guards
Tom
protecting
Seaver,
when your
Nolan
leg
Ryan.
came around? Yeah.
Even Roger Clemens, before he started
Juicing.
juicing, the guy had massive hips and thighs, and that's where he got all his power from.
Wow. No, it's right. And then I'll give you one outlier. He's a black man, Satchel Paige. He pitched into his 60s.
Yeah.
He had an arm like a rubber band.
Yeah, and he was a tall, powerful pitcher. And
he could throw it past anybody.
I mean, sure, that's one guy. But we're talking dozens of people need Tommy John surgery all the time. I don't know what the solution is.
The number is staggering. And,
Right.
And just thank goodness they've got a good agent and they're getting paid well, because the year it takes them off of baseball, they're not eating bologna sandwiches.
That actually does bring up an interesting case, though, about like height and tall pitchers, because Tim Lincecum's a great case for me because he was very short.
I remember.
And he had to use literally all of his body to be able to throw as fast as he did. Now, a lot of other pitchers,
Plus the hair kept them balanced.
I think a lot of other pitchers mimic that, and that's something that like I would try to do when I pitch, because I'm 5'9", so not very tall. So you have to maximize your velocity by using every inch of your effort, whereas guys like Paul Skeens or the old school Satchel Paiges, Bob Gibsons, Randy Johnsons at the time didn't really need to use their entire effort. They could afford to use their legs because they were tall and they stretched further. So Steven Strasburg's short, Tim Lincecum's short. So
another pitcher that was short that used to throw a lot of heat. Remember a guy named Roy Oswalt? He pitched for the Houston Astros.
Yes.
I don't believe he was any more than 5'9", but I mean he got the most out of the gifts that he was given.
I wouldn't consider him so much of a power pitcher, though. He was one of your
he
was one of your locators, though, if I would classify him.
Sometimes
yes, he was.
Sometimes good control means a lot. I learned it even though I threw hard. But guess who taught me how to pitch? My cousin Victor was 5'5". And we were in the Army, and you're in the big stands. 5'5". He's throwing fastballs that you could hear all the way in the outfield, hitting the glove.
Well, when I was in Little League, I hit heat too, but by the time I got to college, it wasn't as effective.
Guess how old he was?
How old was he?
In his 20s doing that.
Well,
he
there
was
you
in
go.
The Army. He was in the Army at Fort Knox. The true story, I went to see him.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, how'd that happen back in the 60s?
So that's what's on my mind.
Whoa, thank you,
the
Chip.
pitcher,
You know, that's a
the rash of pitching injuries, and which leads me to believe that paying $77 million for Mitch Keller really was a smart move on the Pirates' part. As opposed to paying him $177 million, because who knows when he's going to end up missing a year and a half.
That's a good point there, Chip. Appreciate it. And one other little caveat I've said, Garrett Cole was great pitcher here. He didn't start pitching in the major leagues till he had 200 games under his belt in the minors, Chip.
Right.
So why aren't they following that plan and just saying it?
Well, because you've got so much pressure going on you from the
Just had to ask.
social media, the national media, and people are voicing their opinions and they're criticizing. And this is what I believe actually led to more of the downfall with Clint Hurdle and Neil Huntington.
Yeah.
Was they finally gave in to pressure and started listening to what the trade for what's his name, Chris
Archer.
Chris Archer, which really it was a stretch to begin with because he had most of his good years were already behind him.
Yeah.
And then what did the Pirates get out of it? They ended up being embarrassed.
They won 82 games.
A winning season.
Not because of him.
A winning season.
Nicholas, not
Hey,
because of him.
In spite
Hey.
of him, Chip.
They were in it for a while in
Yeah,
2018.
but not because of him.
Ding, ding.
But that's why you
'Cause he
trade.
never made it out of the fourth inning.
It makes more sense in the time. In hindsight, of course, it was a terrible decision. But when you look
Well,
at the
hindsight's 20/20.
they didn't cave to pressure. They said we're in contention. Let's get a guy that can boost our team. They just mortgaged the future,
Yeah,
and then nobody expected Felipe Vasquez to be doing that kind of stuff, and that's that team crumbled in 2019. But 2018 they had hope.
Keep hope alive. All right, we'll move on. Eileen Kelly Schmidt's watching. David Miller's watching. Annette Brown is watching. Annette Brown said hi. Hello back. Emilio Gallus is watching. George Malerbo Sr., one of my longtime Post-Gazette friends, said hello. Thank you. Ann Harder's watching. Ann Harder said this. Now, we got to do a disclaimer on her. She watched in the car coming home from dinner. No, I wasn't driving. I was ready to disclaim it. Thank you, Ann.
Safety.
We appreciate you there. Renee Fennessy Chandler's watching. Shane Kunkel's watching. So thanks to all of you. Let's go to Nick Callis. What's on your mind?
Well, we did softball today, and it didn't interrupt sports lines, so that's always something
All
to
right.
celebrate. Live sports are continuing, and my personal experience from the day is that I got my first suntan of the season, so I'm a little red and
I used to
And
get him,
orange.
and look how pale I am. He got
I'm
color.
still pretty pale. My face, I think, got the most of it because I was
You
standing
got-
outside my
you
car
got
when we
some
were doing
color.
the broadcast.
You
so.
got what's called D3. For all of you that are health nuts like me, 20,000 IUs for every 20 minutes in the sun. That's a vitamin, D3 in every cell.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I keep it in my lunchbox, which goes with me everywhere. SPF 65.
What is
Get the
that?
cream, put it on your face. You will not be peeling skin off your nose or your forehead.
There you go. You got to.
I don't think I was out there that long for that, but
Well, were
I'm
you-
just happy
were you
that
out
there's-
there more than an hour for the game?
yes.
Okay, you got it. Bingo. I have to take SPF 50 now. I'm not allowed to get a suntan because of my
I bumped
anti-emission
it to
drugs.
65 this
Yeah,
year.
I like it. I took your tip and I got the children's SPF 50. I rub it on my eyes and I don't cry.
Why do you look so lost over there?
'Cause he's a black man.
It's a white man's conversation, bro.
You know, there's a
It's
curse.
over my head, bro.
No, it's right in front of your eyes. All right, Nick
But,
Callis, go ahead,
yeah.
carry on. Sorry to interrupt you on that roll.
More sports related. So, Evgeny Malkin said yesterday after the Penguins, they ended up winning, and Evgeny Malkin said, "Well, man, if we could have, we should have clinched by now." And I'm glad that somebody said it, but it's laughable in this case, and this
You
is
know he's a funny guy.
he's an interesting character, but just think about those comments and like the having some conversations with some other people and just really thinking about how much I think we as fans of hockey are not as invested in the Penguins in the beginning of the season because Well, smoking's not invested ever. But I meant, aside from that, no, seriously, like think about with all the football that's going on, with Pitt being in season and basketball fever hitting when the college teams are doing what they're doing. Duquesne was a special
Caitlin
story.
Clark.
So not
Caitlin
Clark.
Clark.
Not Caitlin Clark.
For
because,
me.
well, when we talk about, I guess nationally, sure. But I mean, like, we as Pittsburgh fans, we pay attention to more of the colleges in some cases with football and with basketball.
Yeah.
And with the Penguins, we really get lost because over the many years that they were making the playoffs on a consecutive basis, we were just assuming like, oh yeah,
16 years.
they'll just win games in November and December, right? They'll be fine in January. They'll just do it, and then we'll pay attention to hockey in February and March. And I think this season we really took those other seasons for granted, and last season this applies as well, that we're not paying attention as much. And by the time January and February come around, we're looking and we're going, oh, they're what? They're second from the bottom in the wild card standings. They're not doing well.
Why do you think Smoking Jim noticed them?
They got it, but they got to catch up. And I think that we really, we have not paid as much attention though as fans overall. And I've noticed that, and that's been brought to my attention. And I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. I mean, we don't value, especially in hockey, we should in all sports, but we don't really value all those games that are played in the early part of the season because we're not also used to the Penguins needing to catch up. And last season they needed to catch up because they went on a losing streak. And this season they were gone, and then they just reappeared, and now they're in it.
The last 3 weeks it became exciting.
Right, after Jake Ensel got traded. So
What a boost.
Right, but when you think about it, they're like, think about the one or two games that they could have won in regulation, that they could have won at all, that would have pushed them into the playoffs. So Malkin's right. They could have clinched and they should have clinched. But think about those one or two games that you might not think are so meaningful, and then then you get to the end of the season and the Penguins they have other teams that they need to rely on right now to be able to qualify for the postseason. Just think about that. And I mean, I remember even back in 2015 when the Pirates won 98 games. And the Cardinals won, I think it was 101. And I remember the Pirates at the beginning of the season got swept by the Reds on their way to having such a successful season. But if they don't get swept by the Reds, who were a significantly weaker team that year, I mean, do they not contend for the division if they care about those games early? So just food for thought. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and nobody, it's easier to have circumstances to try to achieve rather than like have a blank slate that that you're starting from. So I understand that. I just think it's interesting, and that's why it's on my mind. So
one point on it, if you noticed, when we're 3-on-3 and overtime, we're terrible.
Well, because the power play is pretty bad too. I think those two
and
have
the
some
power
correlation.
play is one of the worst with future Hall of Famers.
Sure.
So when Malkin says it, he's one of the problems on the power play.
Yeah, no, not arguing that.
So I mean, what he did is he put it on himself. If they won a couple of the power plays and 3-on-3, how many times do we see him give it away to them one time and then they score?
Well, that's why I said it was funny that he said that of all people.
No, that's why I'm saying the irony.
I
It's
think
very
what
ironic.
sums up what your point that you were making is the complacency that Penguins fans have fallen into because for 16 years the Penguins made the playoffs. So it's like, why do I need to pay attention to the Penguins in October, November, and December? Because they're going to be there at the end. We'll start rooting for them when it counts. And more importantly, you said if they would have won one or two more games.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
Two games and they're in.
I say there's at least 15 games that I can remember that they lost in the last half of the third period.
No, but that emphasizes that point.
Just
only one or two of those 15 games, and they're in a better spot than
they're
they
in
are
the
right
playoffs.
now.
No, your points are well taken.
But I still don't think. I mean, even if the Penguins do end up making the playoffs, they just simply do not have the horses to make it out of the first round. They don't have a goaltender. Nedeljkovic.
That's a debate.
Nedeljkovic.
Nedeljkovic.
He was 7-0-3 in the previous 10 games before he got pulled on Saturday against the Bruins.
Yeah,
that was tough.
That was a tough one.
He's been playing way over his head, and I think Dubas has realized that he made a big mistake signing Jari, and I don't know if they're going to be able to dump that contract.
Yeah, but Chip, there was no choice to replace Jari. Through the whole NHL, they said, no, the experts are saying, I'm going by what the expert scouts and what they showed.
I heard
They said there was no one at that price that they could have got.
Right, but you know what you do in that case then? If there's no one at that
but
price,
I'm saying what you said.
you shuffle the deck and start over. You don't sign
No, but you
the
can
inconsistent
say
guy.
that, but the experts were all saying
more
that.
important than his inconsistency is his history of
Well,
injuries.
that's what he
He's
is.
never been able to make it through a season without missing. And when he misses time, it's at the time when you need him the most.
Well,
I would love to ask him that question in the offseason, Dubas. What were you thinking?
The curse is alive and well.
Well, Smoking Jim. Here,
Wait. May I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What does 3 Stanley Cup championships mean to
How
you?
many they win after they backstab Fleury? I said they'll never win another one.
They didn't
and haven't.
backstab Fleury. They just didn't protect them, and another team
Oh, I
drafted
can't
him.
have my opinion.
It came down to a salary cap thing. It was nobody got stabbed in the back. It was dollars and cents.
One playoff game, one playoff series would pay a salary for the whole year. You're preaching to the choir, brother.
But they have a salary cap they
How's
have
that
to stay
preaching?
under. They can't spend as much as they would
Him on
like to.
this.
They spend too much money on too few players that they couldn't afford to pay Marc-Andre Fleury.
I'm not going to have a white-on-white crime here.
We got a disclaimer. We're moving on from Smoking Jim. The one point, we're basically agreeing that the Penguins only needed to win a couple games, and then Smoking Jim would shut up.
What's in that? What's in that bottle, Smoking Jim? Is
Now the other thing
that? You
is,
sure that's ginger ale?
It's it's ale,
yeah.
not ginger ale.
And for all of you, like as bad as the Steelers have done last year and this year, they're selling out 98% of their seats.
Well, that's
So
that's
people
an
are
arbitrary thing.
Well, I
Because
know
they-
there's corporate sponsors.
buys up blocks of tickets,
Wow.
and
I'm just saying.
You mean
as
the
they say,
Penguins, right?
With
You
the
mean-
Penguins.
Yeah, Penguins.
Yeah.
I mean, those aren't paying fans that are sitting in those seats.
Believe me, I understand. Sometimes you hear the crowd,
Oh.
sometimes you don't.
I almost paid.
No, you didn't.
Sometimes you hear the crowd.
All right,
say-
we're
sometimes
moving
they're
on.
disguised as empty seats.
Yeah, we're getting distracted by Smoking Jim with his curses that aren't real, and then his outfit that's store-bought in the car. So we're going to move on to, hey, Al, what's on your mind? I'm still suffering from the Caitlin Clark phenomena. They had over 19 million people watch the finals.
Wow.
That's bigger than most of the other
That was
less-
more than the men's final.
Right. So imagine that happened because of basically one woman. She was number one in the draft. I got to tell, I have a basketball family. That's the first time ever I watched the WNBA draft. I'll pat myself. Oh, that hurt. It was amazing to see it. And you talk about a lady that has class. She's a multimillionaire, won all these awards, scored all these points more than men, assists, just a classy person. So I was listening to the pre-draft talk about her IQ and her shot selection and her passes. They said, like, for some of the naysayers that are in the WNBA that, it's tougher. Yeah, it is. But she has a couple things going for her brain and her shot and the hard work she's done. And they've all said her anticipation on passes, she'll be all right in the WNBA. Well, she scored 32 points a game. How many of them have? So she may not. But I'm excited for her. I'm going to watch the Fever now. I got the Fever. And I'm going to check them out. It was just a great event. And I only watched another 4 or 5 picks because it's WNBA, like they say. Nobody watches it, but I watched it.
Tell you what, the Indiana Fever, who's drafted her first, 90% of their games next season are going to be on national TV.
What a coincidence.
Chicago be the team to beat those. Chicago's
Thank you, Mr. Negative. He's coming back. All right, we're going to be back with Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. 10 seconds.
Go ahead, you're up.
Thanks,
You're
Al
up.
Levine, the talking machine. Here's one for you. Guess who's Angel Reese's boyfriend? Deion Sanders' son, the quarterback. He sure gets around. Hell of a talk.
What's he driving? What's he's driving? His car was locked up.
Yeah, because he wouldn't pay his parking tickets on his SUV Rolls Royce.
That's what I know.
But hey, El Levine, the talking machine. Everybody know I lifted the curse off the Steelers this year because of
No,
Russell
we don't.
Wilson.
We don't know.
They haven't done anything.
I know.
El Levine, the talking
What's
machine.
he talking about?
They almost cannot go wrong in the draft because there's so many quarterbacks that'll probably be taken before the Steelers pick 20th. A good player will be there. And I just want to talk about some of these quarterbacks, man. You know.
Oh, you're actually talking about quarterbacks?
Yeah.
They picked everybody you wanted.
Quarterback?
Quarterback.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the draft that'll go before the Steelers pick.
Yeah, I was saying you're talking quarterbacks.
QBs.
Because you were talking cornerbacks the last month.
Yeah, well, Cooper DeJean.
White cornerbacks.
First white cornerback
I just wanted
in
to
25
clarify
years.
this for our regular fans.
But here's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? You got Caleb Williams, a great quarterback, going to Chicago, a city that Al Capone built, and this guy's polishing his fingernails and his toenails. That ain't going to go over well with the fan base in Chicago, I don't think. Plus, he's a me quarterback. Jalen Daniels, who won the Heisman Trophy, I just talked to a scout in Phoenix. He went to see him when he played for Arizona State. Watched him live 5 times, was underwhelmed. Drake May is very inexperienced, North Carolina quarterback. In 2020 was his senior year at high school, got wiped out because of COVID. He played behind Sam Howell.
Merle Hard said Drake May is the kind of quarterback that if you draft him, he'll get you fired.
Okay, that's good. So, and they're talking about top 3. I just talked to somebody from the New England Patriots, and they're sitting at 3 right now, and they said they're taking Drake May if he's there. Drake May played behind Sam Howell 1 year at North Carolina. He only started 2 years. The 1 year was pretty good. Last year was bad. J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion, he only threw 160 passes his whole career. El Levine, the talking machine.
Who did he play for?
He played for Jim Harbaugh.
Who's known as a quarterback coach.
They say he's a potential bust.
Yeah, and I don't think he got good leadership skills, in my opinion. You know what I mean? As a leader, you got to sometimes be like Nick. You got to get in people's face. You know what I mean?
Like
Nick's a natural-born leader.
Who?
You can see his leadership qualities from. I'm not just talking about in here. I'm talking about in life. El Levine, the talking machine. Anybody that don't call Adam Crowley back when he's sick. He talked about you on here, brother. Hey, here's Bo Nix, who I love. I don't think he'll get past the Denver Broncos.
I like Bo Nix.
And last but not least, and I think he'll be a great Raider, he could be the best quarterback in the whole draft, Michael Penix Jr.
I like
Quick
him.
release, left hand, the whole bit. He fits real well. Who was that? Kenny who for the Raiders?
Stabler.
Kenny Stabler could be the next Kenny Stabler.
I like
that. Wears a scarf. Skull cap.
The ones that I read an article about today that said we're going to be a bust. We're going to be Bo Nix, Drake May, and what was the other one? J.J. McCarthy. They say Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
He's going to be average. They predicted stardom for Caleb Williams. They predicted superstardom for Michael Penix Jr.
Wow.
Hey,
Wow.
Hey,
Thanks.
Smoking Jim, I only got one question. What's Mel Kiper say?
I'm not sure.
Who cares?
Because he's never right.
Mel's pretty good.
He's like the
Last
weatherman.
year he had one of the
He's like a
top
meteorologist.
picks
I got Mel
out of
He
32.
gets paid to be wrong.
Yeah, he started a whole legendary thing.
Mel's right on about 30 to 40%, which ain't bad. I'm right on 97%.
It didn't happen last year for you or
I
him.
think Mel's
I thought it
second
was
best to
98
me.
and a half.
All
No,
right,
just
we
97.
got to hold a hook on Smoking Jim. We're going.
I won't put a curse on you.
We're going. I'm pulling that hook. Go to Chip Hayner and trivia time. 10 seconds.
right, everybody. Welcome back. And it's time to do a eulogy. And it's not for the person that Jim Frazier might think that I would mention. Because I'm not going to mention that person's name. But I will give you the guy's first and middle name. Okay? And I won't tell you his nickname or his last name. I'll talk about the accomplishments that he had.
Whitey.
And then I will talk to you about who he was. Dorell Norman Elvert. He was born November 9th, 1931. He passed away April 15th of 2024. He was an American professional baseball outfielder and a manager, most notable for his Major League Baseball managerial career.
Whoa.
He made his Major League debut as a player in 1956 with the Washington Senators. After his playing career ended in 1963, he went on to perform a variety of roles in Major League Baseball: scout, manager, coach, general manager, and farm system director.
Whoa.
As a scout and farm system director, he helped the New York Mets win the 1969 World Series. As a big league manager, he led the Kansas City Royals to 3 consecutive playoff appearances, 76 to 78. Hired by Gussie Busch in 1980 to helm the St. Louis Cardinals, the team made 3 World Series appearances, winning the 1982 World Series over the Milwaukee Brewers and falling in 85 and in 87. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame on July 25th, 2010. This is none other than Whitey Herzog.
Yeah.
There you
Whitey
go.
Herzog,
I had his baseball card.
his career record as a manager was 1,281 wins, 1,125 losses for a .532 winning percentage. I loved watching his teams, his Kansas City Royal teams in the mid-'70s.
Yes, sir.
With the young George
Me
Brett.
too, yeah.
And those games
One of the
against
best
the
hitters ever.
Yankees, against Billy Martin's Yankees, were some of the best baseball that we've ever seen. So,
Didn't Billy Martin catch some tar on that bat with Brett? One
Oh,
of the
yeah,
best ever.
When George
You got to
Brett-
check that video.
When George Brett lost his mind,
And he lost it on air.
yes, that was. I mean, he hit. That was a no doubter. I mean, he crushed that ball and some. But Whitey Herzog, one of the greats of the game.
Yes, sir.
As a young baseball fan in my 20s and in my 30s, remember him well, coaching, managing the Royals and the Cardinals, and it was like perennially every year one of those 2 teams was in the playoffs.
I'm with you on that, Chip. I got you by a few years. Then that brings up the question, what about Danny Murtaugh and the Baseball Hall of Fame? You proved our point.
Danny Murtaugh belongs there, and how the Veterans Committee didn't elect him in 2 years ago is a crime.
Yeah, thank you. We'll end on that.
Spoken, how old were you when Danny Murtaugh was managing the Pirates?
Well, Danny Murtaugh deserves to be in. McCutcheon doesn't.
Thank you,
McCutcheon's
Smoking
an
Jim.
active player, so he's not eligible.
Yeah, from a non-baseball guy, thanks for bringing that out of him.
Look at this guy.
All right, we got VIP time with Nick Callis. 10 seconds.
I'd like to clarify a point before I give my opinion because it will have something to do with what
Your
I'm
point.
giving an opinion on today. This has nothing to do with Smoking Jim. He is nonsense today, and that's what defines him right now. So we'll just let that go. Pitcher velocities and who's better in the before or the after. I just like to emphasize this argument because
Ding, ding.
I never want to compare too much the greats of the past to the greats of now because I think everybody's got their own unique individual traits and styles that make them great in their era. And it's impossible to compare with rule changes and the way physical,
Abilities,
physical care and training is. It's tough. So what I do want to say, though, is it is proven, and I brought stats to the table, I think, a few years ago, that just said that the average player, the players that you forget about after 100 years, they are slowly getting better, increasing velocity, hitting for more power. That's a collective. The average player, the average athlete, and not just baseball, but in all sports, is just there's a trajectory where they're getting better. So I like to make that clear as well. Of course, Nolan Ryan may or may not be better than a Jacob deGrom or an Aroldis Chapman, and Rob Nen may have similar traits. You might think one's better than the other. They both threw hard. Who knows? I'm just saying the average player getting better over time. That being said, Aroldis Chapman throws hard, and that's what I want to talk about right now, because his ejection yesterday was a unique one, and there are some good things to take from it, and there are some bad things to take from it, and I'm going to summarize this in hopefully 3 minutes. So,
You got 4.
Chapman, now I talked about this before, and what I love about the Pirates this year is that the Pirates seem to care. And you didn't really see that 3 years ago. You saw a team where, okay, people are trying to get better, people are trying to get reps. Are they actually good? No. They weren't really very good. We know that, right? Now, though, it seems like you've got players on the team, young and old, that it feels like they care a little bit more. And Aroldis Chapman is one of those players. He cares, and you saw that come out last night because he threw a great pitch to Alvarez, their catcher, the Mets catcher, and it was not called a strike. And it was disappointing. Now, Chapman had to throw a few more pitches before throwing a similar pitch and getting the strikeout. I understood where his frustration comes from, though, because the way that relievers pitch now, and this is a good point from what we talked about before, relievers are taught to pitch with like maximum effort because they're not out there for multiple innings. They're out there for 1, maybe 2. In Chapman's case, I think he was only scheduled to pitch 1. But he has to give maximum effort, and his workouts are designed to make sure that he can maximize the efficiency and the effectiveness of his pitches in a short period of time. So if he has to throw more pitches to a guy and the umpire got it wrong, I understand where his frustration comes from. That being said, I think that you saw the first real signs of why maybe you wouldn't have liked him in the past. I mean, he literally, like, one of my big concerns with him was because, I'm also playing the Yankees side in the American League. So, like, he literally left the Yankees, like, facility and the team for the playoffs in 2022 because he had an attitude. He didn't like what was going on. Now, he then won a World Series the year after last season.
Yeah.
So it brought out concerns because I'm watching him, like, lose his cool over this pitch. And, I mean, then he gave up a hit on a high fastball to Harrison Bader and gave up the 2 runs, and then he's swearing in Spanish at the umpire, and magic words get you tossed. And he put his glove up to his mouth.
In any language.
And Shelton, you saw Shelton say, "Why'd you throw him out?" And the explanation must have been good enough because the umpire understands Spanish, and he was like, "Yeah, he said that to me, and I didn't like it." So that's a case, though, where you need Chapman to be efficient, and I think watching him with the Reds in particular as Pirate fans, you noticed at some points in time when the Reds were competitive and he was in a lot of those high-intensity moments that you would see him get frustrated if things didn't go his way. And he walked a lot more people back in the day as well, and he would get frustrated with himself for walking people, or he'd get frustrated with calls. And I think that's just one of those lessons I think we all got to watch. And I think,
a life lesson.
I guess a life lesson, but like, I appreciate the passion of many of the players this year. Now I think it's a good point to kind of harness that, though, because you don't want to just blindly argue and be a pest. I think he had a legitimate gripe, but just like, after you give up the hit and after the frustration boils over, I think we could have used Chapman to like continue that inning, I think, and get out of it. And the fact that he wasn't available because he got ejected, that's frustrating. Now again, it's one game. I just hope it doesn't become a pattern. So I like passion. I think it's got to be controlled, though, and that's it.
Quick question for you, Nicholas.
Sure.
What did you think of Rowdy Tellez getting Dave Bednar's back after Bednar had a bad outing and he stunk? Okay, I'm not
right
and
message.
He stood up for him.
Right message, wrong guy. The first thing I think is, okay, cool. Yeah, I like the message. I like what he said. I like that he stood up for the guy. Then my second thought was, wait, what do you mean we in Pittsburgh don't do this? This is your first season here. Second thing I thought was, David Bednar is a grown man who accepted talking to the media, so I think he was prepared to say things. He didn't need somebody to say it for him. I think valiant choice.
Whoa.
Wrong guy.
I think it builds team unity. Another thing I liked that I saw Tellez do was O'Neill Cruz. was being lackadaisical in his throws over to first base. And Talese told him, he threw, and Talese scooped the ball out of the dirt because threw a lazy throw over to first base. So he took the ball, threw it right back at him, and he said it went like this and pointed to his chest. It's like, throw it to my chest. And O'Neill Cruz laughed about it, and he took the ball again and threw it back at him. And after they went back in at the dugout at the end of that inning, he wasn't really laughing and joking. Talese was. He was trying to send a message to Cruz, like, get your head out of your butt and pay attention.
Wow. Yeah, Cruz isn't hitting right now like he can.
He's a little immature and he needs to grow up.
Sure.
All right, thanks, fellas. Appreciate your points. On Location coming at you in 10 seconds with a couple minutes to go.
Yeah, here. Johnny's on camera.
Want to wish a happy 89th birthday to my father, Michael Mariano. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michael. Appreciate you. And get out in that garden. Get that gardening. All right, On Location, we had one of our best Golden Glove fighting announcement and filming and live streaming we ever had. Steam Fitters' brand new hall out there in Harmony, PA. Smoking Jim and I with Michael were out there and just had a great time. Imagine 23 finalists. Wow. The trophies were beautiful. The boxing was great.
What do you mean, wow? You were there.
Well, it was wow. He's
no,
emphasizing.
No, but he's. Oh, what a description, Al. I didn't actually see it.
No, he forgot. He forgot. Day to day, it changes. But he's with me. We had a great time. Shout out to Jack Mook, owner of Jack's Boxing Gym. He's the new director of Golden Gloves. We're honored and blessed to be the exclusive station for Golden Gloves. So we salute all of you. Commissioner Rick Steigerwald has a good thing for the old-time boxers from the 60s and 70s. Stay tuned for that. Watch the fights. How many hours? Was it almost 6 hours?
5 hours and 36 minutes was
5:36. We got it from him. He saw it. And I want to thank everybody for watching. We got On Location at the end of the month on the 27th. Cherry City Fire Hall in Millvale. Ray Schaefer Boxing Association wants us there. Get your tickets. We'll live stream that event too. Looking forward to it. We love Jose and the champion Colleen, lady boxer that we watch grow up there and become a champ. Plus, Millvale's a great town. Can't beat it. And I want to thank everybody for watching. You're commenting. I might have missed a few, but we appreciate it. And I'm glad you made it home safe, not driving. And stay Joey strong.